Angie Dickinson was one of the most beloved and prolific actresses of the 50s and 60s. And in 1991, she was listed as number 42 on Playboy's list of the top 100 sexiest stars of the century. While there's no denying Angie's sex appeal, practically anyone alive back then had a crush on her, it's also important to recognize her for her many other career successes. Join Facts Verse as we take a peek at some vintage photos that reveal some of her most attractive moments while discussing a few more of her career highlights. Angie Dickinson's humble beginnings. Before she was Angie Dickinson, Angie was known by her friends and family as Angeline Brown. She was born September 30th, 1931, in the rural town of Culm, North Dakota, to her parents Frederica and Leo Henry Brown. Her father worked as a local newspaper publisher and editor, while her mother primarily stayed at home and raised Angie and her 3 sisters. At an early age, Angie fell in love with film, as her father was also a projectionist at the town of Culm's only movie theater until it burned down. When she was 10, her family moved to Burbank, California. Angie was determined to become a writer, but before she graduated from high school in 1954, she married a football player named Gene Dickinson. The two stayed together until 1960, but even after divorcing, she kept his surname. Angie's first venture into show business was when she was a contestant in a preliminary beauty pageant for the Miss America contest. Though she managed to place second, she was still able to catch the attention of a Hollywood talent scout. This agent then helped her score her first gig in the industry as one of 6 showgirls to appear on The Jimmy Durante Show. While performing on the show, a producer took notice of her and was able to convince her to consider a career in acting. After studying acting for a couple of years, NBC offered her the chance to guest star on several TV programs, including the popular anthology show The Colgate Comedy Hour. Around this time, she met famed jazz crooner Frank Sinatra, who she struck up a friendship with. This would eventually lead to her being cast opposite him in 1960's Ocean's 11. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to Facts First for more. And stick around for more of Angie Dickinson. Angie Dickinson's meteoric rise to fame. Her TV career started taking off in 1954 when she made her debut in an episode of the series Death Valley Days. This role led her to ultimately appear in numerous roles on shows like Matinee Theater, Gunsmoke, and Grey Ghost. She continued to make TV appearances throughout the 50s. In 1954, she started starring in movies with an unaccredited role in the film Lucky Me. She was given her first starring role just 2 years later in 1956's Gun the Man Down. While that role certainly advanced her career, it wasn't quite the watershed moment she would experience 5 years later. After appearing in a few more B films and westerns, Angie landed her big breakthrough role in 1959's Rio Bravo, playing a gambler named Feathers, who had the hots for the town sheriff, played by one and only John Wayne. After appearing in this memorable film, Dickinson became one of the most prolific leading actresses of the 60s. During this decade, some of her most noteworthy films included Fever in the Blood, Rome Adventure, and The Killers, the latter of which saw her starring opposite Ronald Reagan in his last film role. In 1964, Dickinson co-starred in the film The Art of Love. 2 years later, she joined forces with Jane Fonda, Robert Redford, Marlon Brando, and Robert Duvall in The Chase. What critics consider her best film from the era, however, was 1967's Point Blank. And from there, she continued to make appearances in Western films, including Sam Whiskey, in which she smooched Burt Reynolds for his first on-screen kiss. In 1965, Angie got married for the second time to Burt Bacharach, a prominent composer and performer. The couple ended up remaining married until 1981 and had a daughter together. Angie Dickinson's policewoman years. Angie continued to star in films in the 70s. One of her most acclaimed films from this decade was Big Bad Mama, in which she starred alongside Tom Skerritt and William Shatner. In that film, which is widely regarded as one of her most significant offerings, Dickinson appeared nude in a couple of scenes. That same year, she also made a return to TV, appearing in the procedural crime drama anthology series Police Story. Her appearance on that program was met with such a resounding and enthusiastic response by audiences that NBC decided to offer Dickinson her own series. In Policewoman, Angie played Sergeant Leanne Pepper Anderson, an officer in the LAPD Criminal Conspiracy Unit. That role ended up winning her a Golden Globe and Emmy nomination 3 years in a row. The series aired for 4 seasons, and in 1987, the LAPD honored her with an honorary doctorate. Dickinson was also given a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. The series paved the way for other actresses to play title roles in subsequent television dramas, and because of that, Dickinson is considered a hero of sorts for women everywhere. Angie's life and career post-policewoman. In the 80s, Angie's career began to slow down a bit. She appeared in the 1980 Brian De Palma flick Dressed to Kill, in which she was recognized for her powerful performance in the role of Kate Miller, a sexually frustrated housewife from New York. That role won her a Saturn Award for Best Actress. Dickinson passed on an offer to play Crystal Carrington on Dynasty to spend more time with her daughter, who wasn't doing very well at the time. And she would likewise later turn down the opportunity to play the character Sable Colby on the Dynasty spin-off series, The Colbys. After shooting 2 episodes of a sitcom called The Angie Dickinson Show, she told the show's producers she was no longer interested in being its star. She did appear in several TV films through the 1980s and reprised her role as the salacious Wilma McClatchy in Big Bad Mama 2. In 1993, she was one of the stars of Oliver Stone's critically revered miniseries Wild Palms. In 1995, she was given a part in the remake of Sabrina. The following year, she starred in The Maddening, playing Burt Reynolds' wife. In 2000, she played the homeless and destitute alcoholic mother of Helen Hunt's character in the heartwarming film Pay It Forward. That same year, she played the grandmother of Gwyneth Paltrow's character in the musical comedy Duets. In 2001, she made a cameo in the remake of Ocean's 11, and in 2009 appeared in a Hallmark Channel original film called Mending Fences. Angie's daughter, Nikki. A tragedy that pushed Angie to her limits. Baby Nikki Bacharach was born in 1966, 3 months premature, weighing just 1 pound 10 ounces. Nikki didn't learn to speak until she was 3, and her doctors were convinced she was autistic. Fortunately, by the age of 4, she showed signs of rapid development and became a child prodigy pianist. Nikki also loved ballet and gymnastics and often rode horses and went on scuba diving outings with her father. While Angie thought her daughter was a fairly normal and healthy child, her husband had concerns about her behavior. Because of being born premature, Nikki suffered from a condition called strabismus that caused her eyes to turn inward. In school, this ailment caused her to be bullied by the other children. Nikki was also later diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome. Eventually, after she'd shown increasing signs of instability, Nikki's father placed her into the care of a psychiatric residential treatment facility in Minnesota. She remained there for 9 years. Later, she studied geology at California Lutheran University, but her eyesight sadly prevented her from pursuing that path as a career. Tragically, at the age of 40, on January 4, 2007, Nikki took her life by suffocation at her apartment in Thousand Oaks, California. Now it's time to hear from you. What are some of your favorite memories of Angie? Let us know in the comments section below.